Hi, I'm Brad at CES. I have been absolutely ruined forever. How? Well, I tried a Varjo XR-3 headset. Not only that, it was the Focal Edition headset, which is kind of their new updated version of that. So Varjo makes extremely high-end PCVR headsets, mostly for people looking to do sort of military programs for flight simulators. But more importantly, they partner with a lot of car companies or motorcycle design companies because they can actually place a digital object or a very high resolution 3D model in a mixed reality space. And the headset is very known to have a very just extremely high pixels per degree in a center window with a peripheral display around it with also a very high resolution. And I've only tried maybe once a few years ago, like a VR1 for a very short period of time. And I remember back then the window for that little display, which they use an OLED micro display in that little center periphery, it was always notable to see the seam between those two displays matching together because they use a mirror to reflect that. Now with the XR3 though, I did try the Arrow, and I never really got that convinced that the experience was incredibly amazing where I couldn't go back. But the XR3 is basically the reference base that the Arrow came from. The visuals feel very true to life when you're especially in a VR experience, and the mixed reality it's something else. Like it actually, I wouldn't say that the digital content they showed me, which was mostly motorcycles and cars in a hotel room, was really true to life, but it was the closest I've seen it. And with the actual new additions of the focal point and like all these other things, it looked really freaking good. Other than the actual visuals, the thing that probably impressed me the most was they have LiDAR on board. The same kind of technology that Apple uses in their iPhones to do a lot of cool room mapping and stuff. But when you actually have your hands in front of you, you can see your real life fingers in the virtual world or in the mixed reality world, and it's tracked so fast. Like, I've never seen a tracking system that is able to quickly just key out everything so well in just a random hotel room environment. And they even said it can get better if you have a key room, like a green screen area. But honestly, I was just so impressed with what it was able to do without the green screen. It was just super good meshing, so fast, so snappy. It was the first time I was able to see my arms and my hand when they put me in the virtual experience, my real life arm and hand. It was very just it was uncanny valley by how like accurate it was. And the interesting thing about the LiDAR scanner is they said they can change the range, but obviously when you have the range at a shorter distance, it is more ideal for the hand tracking and like seeing your hands in the space, which not only does that, there's occlusion, active occlusion happening with the digital objects that you touch. So the car in the room, I could literally reach in, and once my hand got through the door, or around, I can wrap even my hands around the wheel. It it was pretty incredible. I know I kind of trash on the Quest Pro, but the Quest Pro was kind of advertising that sort of functionality of doing 3D models or designing cars or showing people cars in an actual environment for those Fortune 500 companies that work it. But it's not even close to the Barrio. Obviously, there's a huge price difference. You're talking about a subscription fee as well to have yearly support for it as a business. But I think if you are one of those Fortune 500 companies that is already dedicated to the belief that mixed reality or extremely high-end visuals for model editing cars or taking things from design to mass production, I think you're probably going to want to go with the XR3 type thing anyway over the Quest Pro. It's such a difference. It also frustrates me even more trying the hand tracking with the LiDAR support, which is pretty similar to the kind of system that they were doing with the depth sensor in the Quest Pro before they removed it at the last minute. Because again, I was just incredibly impressed by that feature, and there were comments by Mark Zuckerberg that even the Quest Pro depth sensor was especially focused on making the hand tracking good or better than it actually is right now. They were also trying to show off their Varjo cloud platform, which the idea is to render everything entirely in the cloud, so you don't have to bring around a giant BP PC, which is required to run the Varjo XR3, for example. And they're running it off a laptop that could have way lower properties, such as what they were kind of saying, like the 20 series laptop GPUs or higher, which makes the idea way more transportable, way more accessible to people over time. But unfortunately, they were running on hotel Wi-Fi. And not only just any hotel Wi-Fi, they're pretty much crowded as well because there's a lot of companies at the Venetian Hotel where they demoed in the private suite. A lot of companies are doing the same thing. They're all requiring their own networks. Same problem with the rest of CES, just a lot of Wi-Fi interference, very low speeds, and the cloud demo really did show that. Which kind of, I've always been kind of skeptical about how fast we're going to see cloud-based VR rendering and gaming and stuff, and that's not an ideal environment. And I think there's going to be a lot of non-ideal environments, especially in the US, where there's still a ton of issues with cloud infrastructure or just really wireless or ISP infrastructure in general. But even though with I could see the little cracks of promise in their cloud experience. They weren't having to render pretty much anything on the laptop except the pass-through view itself. Everything else was done in the cloud, and everything was running at 90 hertz, even though there was a lot of stuttering with obviously the internet issues. So it was a very interesting demo. Again, I think if you're at the point where you're a Fortune 500 company, you want the highest experience, it's better to just have it set up in like an office somewhere with designers and just collaborate together in that one space, where the Varjo XR3 truly is the best for that. Now, before I ended this video, I really want to give you a little hint or glimpse to sort of it's a semi-well known among people who whisper to each other in the industry. As I just kind of said this whole video, that the Varjo XR3 is really just like the highest end in terms of mixed reality and VR visual quality experience. Well, it's kind of been known that for many years, Apple is one of Varjo's biggest customers. And I'm not talking about just Apple, I mean Apple headquarters. And you might be wondering, well, why would Apple want to order all these high-end, extremely high-end Varjo headsets? Well, think about it. If Apple, who is rumored to be working on this super high-end headset that is focused on mixed reality and just extremely high-resolution displays and everything, they need to develop software and a platform for it. But obviously, there's a long process before they can make prototypes, scale up those prototypes, and give them to all their developers to develop the platform for it. So it's very likely that Apple was expecting developers to build the entire platform on Varjo XR headsets before they can actually get the prototypes out. So just something to think about. I know there's a lot of hype for the Apple headset and everything, but they do have a high standard clearly if they've been buying a bunch of Varjo headsets just for development. Even though they have not bought any headsets more recently, in probably the past year or two is what I heard more commonly. So, interesting. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoy this content. Go to bradsmells.com/Patreon. Bye.